Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Yashodhana Dana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodhana Dana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Yashodhana Dana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodhana Dana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki. Jaya Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrakacharya Stottara Shata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, PPT founder Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Mantra Upasaka Srila Prabhupada ki, Senapati Bhakta Srila Prabhupada ki, Preeminent Shiksha Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Save up the whole world, Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrakacharya Stottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Premsa Ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Shri Shri Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Ganga Maya ki, Yamuna Maya ki, Tulsi Maharani ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaura Premananda, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 18, entitled Prithu Maharaj Milks the Earth Planet. We're reading text number 21. You can repeat after me. Yaksha Rakshamsi Bhutani Pishacha Pishitasana Bhutesha Vatsa Duduhu Kapale Shatajasavam Yaksha Rakshamsi Bhutani Yaksha Rakshamsi Bhutani Pishacha Pishitasana Pishacha Pishitasana Bhutesha Vatsaduduho Bhutesha Vatsaduduho Kapalek Shatajasavam Kapalek Shatajasavam Yaksha Rakshamsi Bhutani Pishacha Pishitashana Bhutesha Vatsaduduho Kapalek Shatajasavam Yaksha Raksamshi Bhutani Pishacha Pishitashana Bhutesha Vatsaduduho Kapalek Shatajasavam Bhutani Pishecha Pishitashana Bhutesha Vatsaduduho Kapalek Shata Jasavam Yaksha Raksamshi Bhutani Pishacha Pishitashana Bhutesha Vatsaduduho Kapalek Shata Jasavam Yaksha Raksamshi Bhutani Pisacha Pishitashana Bhutesha Vatsaduduho Kapalek Shata Jasavam Yaksha. The Yakshas, the descendants of Kuber, Rakshamsi, the Rakshasas, meat eaters, Bhutani, ghosts, Pishacha, witches, Pishita Asana, who are all habituated to eating flesh, Bhutesha, Lord Shiva's incarnation Rudra, Vatsa, whose calf, Duduho, milked out, Kapale, in a pot of skulls, Shataja, blood, Asavam, a fermented beverage. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki. Then the Yakshas, Rakshasas, ghosts and witches, who are habituated to eating flesh, transformed Lord Shiva's incarnation, Rudra, Bhutanath, into a calf and milked out beverages made of blood and put them in a pot of skulls. Purport. There are some types of living entities in the form of human beings whose living conditions and eatables are most abominable. Generally, they eat flesh and fermented blood, which is mentioned in this verse as Shata Jasavam. The leaders of such degraded men, known as Yakshas, Rakshasas, Bhutas, and Pishachas, are all in the mode of ignorance. They have been placed under the control of Rudra. Rudra is the incarnation of Lord Shiva and is in charge of the mode of ignorance in material nature. Another name of Lord Shiva is Bhutanath, meaning master of ghosts. Rudra was born from between Brahma's eyes when Brahma was very angry at the four Kumaras. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. After being inspired by Prithu Maharaj, many living entities have milked various necessities from the earth. In this verse, the living entities here are those influenced by the mode of ignorance, tamagun, and they had milked out what they wanted using Lord Shiva as the calf. More specifically, this verse says they turned Lord Shiva's incarnation Rudra into a calf. If we look at the word incarnation as used by Prabhupada, it is a word that is broadly used to describe the descent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his associates into the common world. For example, when Narayan incarnates, he can appear exactly like himself in his four-armed form. And the Lord can also incarnate by appearing as something that is not four-armed or not humanoid. This is the case for Varahadev and so on. This conception of incarnation is also done by Lord Shiva, but rarely. If Lord Shiva incarnates, he usually appears as himself. And it is even more rare for Lord Shiva to appear as something other than himself. When Ramachandra appeared, Lord Shiva appeared as Hanuman. And when Krishna appeared, Lord Shiva appeared as Gopeshwari and became the bodyguard of the Rasa Lila. So here in this verse, Lord Shiva has incarnated as Rudra. In the 12th canto, we learn about the 11 Rudra expansions of Lord Shiva. These Rudras appear exactly like Lord Shiva, and they appear during the times of annihilation. There are 4 annihilations that take place, and 3 are periodic. At the end of Kali Yuga, there is annihilation. At the end of a Manvantara, when a father of mankind dies, there is annihilation. When Lord Brahma's day comes to an end, there is annihilation. And when Lord Brahma leaves his material body, there is annihilation. During certain periods of annihilation, the 11 Rudras participate in the annihilation, and they start from the bottom of the universe. When we say bottom of the universe, we mean lower than the hellish planets. Then they head upwards, destroying everything. Sometimes there are demigods who are attached to their material positions, and they just don't want to let it go. The Rudra incarnations chase after them, and the demigods try to escape by going to the upper planetary systems above the heavenly planets. Unfortunately, the demigods also get annihilated. In the 4th canto, a few chapters from now, Mahadev, which is another name for Lord Shiva, explains that when his incarnations go on a rampage, even he gets scared. His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami says that this Rudra incarnation is a 4th stage Lord Shiva. These 11 Rudra incarnations are not the ones being mentioned in this verse. This is confirmed by Prabhupada in the purport. Prabhupada gives an account of the birth of Lord Shiva. Once at the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma instructed his sons, the 4 Kumaras, to get married and populate the universe. But the Kumaras refused, making Lord Brahma angry. Lord Brahma became so angry that from the center of his forehead, a humanoid figure burst out of it. And when this figure was born, the creation which had just started to come to an end. Seeing that the universe was in an unfavorable situation, Lord Brahma started to communicate with the entity that was born from his anger, and Lord Brahma began giving the living entity instructions. Lord Brahma told him to withdraw his attention from the external world and to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Lord Brahma proceeded to give him a place to stay, and so on. Lord Brahma had also given his this personality born of anger a name, and that name is Rudra. Rudra in that part of Bhagavatam is translated as incarnation of anger, because Rudra was literally a manifestation of Lord Brahma's anger. This Rudra is also known as Mahadev, the greatest demigod, and this Mahadev is also the deity in charge of Tamagun, the mode of ignorance. This Mahadev is the husband of Sati, the husband of Parvati. He is the father of Ganesh and Kartikeya. Many of the pastimes we read in Bhagavatam or from devotees generally deals with this personality. This personality is the Lord Shiva that is generally worshipped. Shri Shri Radha Radhana ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. This Lord Shiva is the personality that is generally worshipped by Hindus. This Lord Shiva is also the founder of one of the Vaishnava Sampradayas, the Rudra Sampradaya. But the key information given in this verse is that the Shiva which is commonly worshipped and is seen in many pastimes is actually an incarnation, which was further confirmed by Prabhupada in the purport. So if the Shiva that everyone is familiar with is an incarnation, then who is Lord Shiva that is not an incarnation? For that we have to delve deeper into the understanding of the Shiva Tattva category. Luckily for us, we don't have to do in-depth research because it's already been done by the Acharyas. His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami explains the 4 stages of Lord Shiva very nicely. We spoke about the 4th stage, Lord Shiva, the 11 Rudra incarnations, and we spoke about the stage 3 Lord Shiva, who is worshipped by many Hindus, but they are just incarnations. Now we'll discuss stage 2 Lord Shiva. As devotees would have heard from the senior devotees on how the material creation came about, Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of Vaikuntha, had expanded himself twice. One of those expansions is known as Karana Dakshay Vishnu, or more commonly known as Mahavishnu. And from him comes the Karana ocean, the ocean of material existence, or how Prabhupada would say, the causal ocean. And this causal ocean is understood to be the Pradhan, the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maha Maya. In a more direct term, this Maha Maya is an impersonal feature of Durga. Then afterwards, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu, glances upon the material existence, and in that way he activates the material creation. At the same time, Mahavishnu also injects the jivas into the material world. Bhagavatam explains that by Mahavishnu's glance, he impregnates material nature. But according to our Krishna conscious philosophy and our knowledge about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is aloof from material nature. Although the material world is Krishna's energy, he does not come in contact with it. This includes Mahavishnu's impregnation of the material nature. Actually, the glance of Mahavishnu has a name, and its name is Shambhu. If you know names and who they are associated with, then you will know that the name Shambhu is associated with Lord Shiva, and it is Lord Shiva. The glance of Mahavishnu is Lord Shiva himself in his impersonal feature. And Lord Shiva, who is the husband of material nature, does the actual impregnation. This is second stage Lord Shiva. It's very interesting. Staunch followers of Lord Shiva worship Lord Shiva and Durga as the supreme mother and father respectively. But the key point is that they can't fathom the impersonal feature of these great personalities. And usually when they do worship, their focus is on the son of Lord Brahma and his consort within the universe. Usually the goal of the devotees of Lord Shiva is to merge with Lord Shiva. But it's not the impersonal feature that they want to merge with, but the personal feature of Lord Shiva. Sometimes we see at the traffic lights, there's a trailer that gets left there with a huge signboard. I remember many years ago there was a Chinmaya mission signboard, and on it was a statement: it is not Lord Shiva whom we become one with, but it is the Ananda within Lord Shiva. But that's not the case. Anyways, Lord Shiva as Shambhu is a stage 2 Lord Shiva. Even the impersonal feature of Lord Shiva is not the original Lord Shiva. Like what was discussed before about Narayan in Vaikuntha having expanded himself twice, one was Mahavishnu, but the other personality that he expanded himself as is the original Shiva, Sadashiva. Sadashiva means always auspicious. Sadashiva exists outside the spiritual world, meaning outside of the Vaikuntha planets. And at the same time, Sadashiva exists outside the material world. The abode of Sadashiva exists between the spiritual and material worlds, in the Brahman effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sadashiva, you can say, is the guardian of the spiritual world, the protector of the spiritual world. Just in case there is some escapees from the material world who are not qualified. For example, as Prabhupada mentioned, the Kumaras in the purport. It's described that in the Bhagavatam that the Kumaras were able to leave the material world by dint of their enlightenment in Brahmavadi philosophy. They rose up into the sky, going higher and higher, leaving the material world behind. They passed the Brahmajyoti and was heading to the Vaikuntha planets. Then they were stopped by Jai and Vijay. So in the same way, if there is a chance that some yogi who wants to bypass the material nature, then they will be stopped by Sadashiva. That's why it is said that you should pray to Sadashiva and get his permission to enter the spiritual realm. This is the first stage, Lord Shiva, and not everyone knows him or knows about him. Sadashiva is not even known by the worshippers of Lord Shiva, but he is well known by the Vaishnavas. When we chant the Panchatattva mantra, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda, Advaita Acharya is described as an incarnation of Mahavishnu, but he is also described as an incarnation of Sadashiva specifically. So Rudra is the incarnation of Lord Shiva, and he had turned into a calf in order to milk a specific nectar that is attractive to the living entities mentioned in this verse. And what they are milking from Mother Earth is blood. It's described here that blood is being fermented and turned into beverages. Any beverages that require fermentation is referencing alcohol. Just like sugarcane juice, when it's left to ferment, it becomes a type of alcohol. The same idea is indicated here. Blood is fermented in order to turn it into some kind of alcohol. There's a saying when it comes to branded alcohol, pick your poison. And coincidentally, in the next verse, text 22, poison is the next thing that is milked from the earth. So this blood wine is enjoyed by certain kinds of living entities. 4 kinds of living entities are mentioned in this verse: the yakshas, rakshasas, bhutas, and the pishachas. The living entities here are associated with Lord Shiva, and by default they are influenced by the mode of ignorance, because Lord Shiva is the deity in charge of the mode of ignorance, Tamagun. The first living entity mentioned here is the Yaksha. In the previous chapters of the same canto, we read about how Dhruva Maharaj was determined on exterminating the Yakshas, but he was eventually stopped by his grandfather, Swayambhuva Manu. And Dhruva Maharaj even received a boon from the leader of the Yakshas, Kuber. Kuber was addressed as the King of Kings in the pastime related to Dhruva Maharaj. And Kuber is also understood to be the treasurer of heaven. In modern terms, you can say that Kubera is the bank director of the heavenly planets. So a Yaksha, if you read any pastimes from the Vedic literatures, that includes goblins and hobgoblins, that is what a Yaksha is. One of the characteristics of a goblin is that they are misers. They don't like to share, but if you do happen to have borrowed money from a goblin, then they will be on your case 24/7 until they get their money back. That's why in Tirupati, Balaji needs money. He owes Kuber money that was borrowed. Next is the Rakshasa. Rakshasa comes from the word Raka, which means to protect. This was the expectation of Lord Brahma. Unfortunately, the Rakshasas turned out to be evil in nature. Eventually, it led to the Supreme Personality of Godhead pushing the Rakshasas downwards to the lower planetary systems. This in turn created a grudge stemming from the Rakshasa side, and eventually it led to the birth of Ravan. As for the word Rakshasa as a species, Prabhupada has translated it differently in different verses in Bhagavatam. Like in this verse, Prabhupada calls them meat eaters. In other places, Prabhupada has called them demons. However, to call a Rakshasa a demon is an understatement. Rakshasas are demoniac in proclivities, but they are not demons as a species. Prahlad Maharaj was born into a demon family, and they are demons as a species. They are called Asuras. Asuras and Rakshasas are different. Asuras are influenced by the mode of passion, Rajagun, and the Rakshasas are influenced by the mode of ignorance, Tamagun. We can see the difference in their nature by what they have milked from the earth. In the previous verses, it was said that the Asuras have milked wine and beer from the earth, which are products made from rotting fruits and rotting vegetables. On the other hand, in this verse, the Rakshasas and company are making drinks from rotting blood. The Rakshasas are worse than demons. Although Prabhupada had translated Rakshamsi as meat eaters here, the meat that is preferred by the Rakshasas are human flesh. Not just any human flesh, but the flesh of Brahmanas. For some reason, they can taste the purity of a Brahman. That's why in many pastimes, the Rakshasas are involved, the Rakshasas are involved in, like in the Ramayana. They are only causing trouble to the Brahmanas. And even when Ravan became the ruler, the Brahmanas had to donate blood. In the Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 10, text 28 and 29, Prabhupada translates the word Rakshamsi differently. There he calls the Rakshasas giants. So a Rakshasa is a demoniac humanoid giant that likes eating meat, and particularly human meat. In the West, there is one word for such a description, and that is ogres. The third living entity mentioned here is the Bhutas, or the ghosts. In the Prabhupada says that Bhutanath, which is another name of Lord Shiva, means the master of ghosts. A ghost is an entity that doesn't have a gross material body, and a ghost form is a body made up of subtle elements. The subtle body is made up of 3 elements: mind, intelligence, and ego. And this subtle body covers the Atma, or the soul. It's described that if somebody dies prematurely, they will have to exist as a ghost for a period of time. Before you were born, your life expectancy was already determined. So if you are meant to live for 100 years, but you had died at 40, that means you will have to exist as a ghost for another 60 years. which is not very nice because the subtle body can't interact with the gross material world. That is the case for the general populace, and when the period is up, only then do the Yamadutas come and take you away to enter the cycle of samsara again. But there are other species of ghosts. Generally, the idea is that when a Kshatriya or a Brahmana dies prematurely, they turn into powerful ghosts. The Brahmanas especially, if they end up becoming ghosts, they are called Brahma Rakshasa ghosts. Brahmana ghosts, because they understand that Lord Shiva is very merciful towards living entities in the mode of ignorance, and is very easy to please, the ghosts can worship and obtain power from Lord Shiva, and then they are able to create a disturbance in the material world. But more importantly, Lord Shiva can reward his ghost followers a chance to take birth again. For example, in Satya Yuga, people live for 100,000 years. If you die at 40 years of age, that means you have to wait another 90,000 plus years as a ghost before the Yamadutas come and pick you up. So it's better to take a shortcut and follow Lord Shiva in order to take birth again. Lastly is the Pisacha. In Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada has translated the word Pisacha as evil spirits. Those who worship ghosts and evil spirits will take birth amongst such beings, Krishna says. But here the word Pisacha is translated as witch. The word Pisacha also appears in many places of the Vedic literatures. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur even uses it in a poem, in a bhajan, to describe Maya, the illusory nature of the material world. Jeev Jago, Gaura Chandra Bola. Wake up, sleeping soul, Gaura Chandra is calling out. Kota Nidra Jaho Maya, Pisa Chira Kole. Why are you sleeping on the lap of the witch called Maya? So Pisacha means witch. According to our modern understanding of a witch engages in witchcraft. And witchcraft means creating drugs, just like our modern scientists who make drugs in the lab and call them medicine. And witchcraft can also mean engaging in different rituals. But what witches are more notable for is casting magic. Many years ago, a devotee named Lalita Nath from the UK had visited us briefly, and he gave a talk in Prabhupada's room about the supernatural. The supernatural in our modern history and supernatural things that happen in our daily lives. At some point he touched on the topic of tantras. Tantras are a broad variety of ritualistic activities that worship a deity. There are different tantras like Shakti Tantra and Buddhist tantras. And there is a tantra where Lord Shiva is the goal. Shiva Tantra has very grotesque and violent rituals. Lalitanath Prabhu said that this Shiva Tantra has a common name that is widely known amongst the common people. It is called black magic. So it appears that the Pishachas are expert in black magic activities. Another point to be noted is that in Sanskrit, the words change according to gender. For example, Rakshasa is male, and it turns to Rakshasi when referring to a female. Deva is a male demigod, and Devi is a female demigod, like that. Usually there is a male and then there is a female counterpart. But that's not the case for a Pishacha. Pishacha directly means witch, which is female. So maybe Pishacha is a female exclusive race. Just like in the heavenly planets, there is no such thing as a male Apsara. Apsaras are exclusively female. In the Bhagavatam, there is a forest that's described where Parvati takes a bath. Because of an accident, Lord Shiva had cursed the forest that if any man steps into that forest besides himself, will be turned into a woman. This, you can say, is a guess of mine, but it may be the Pishachas and that forest might be associated. After all, the wife of Lord Shiva is a follower of Lord Shiva, so it's natural to assume that the residents of the forest, which can only be resided by women, be followers of Lord Shiva as well. So I'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Granted Srimad Bhagavatam ke, Srila Prabhupada ke.